In this video, I'm going to look at the extraordinary developments in computer chess, how they have become so good at the game, what we've learned from them, and what the future might hold. In just a few decades, chess engines have risen from experimental curiosities to the strongest players in the history of the game. Today's engines are at somewhere near 3,800 ELO, a level so far beyond human capability that the gap is no longer meaningful. But that curve is flattening. Many researchers now believe engines are approaching an upper limit near 4,000 ELO. At that point, classical chess, as we know it, becomes effectively solved in practical terms. To understand how we reached this moment, we're going to look back at the incredible story of machine chess. The story of computer chess begins long before the first engines ever played a move. In 1949, Claude Shannon, the father of information theory, published the first blueprint for how a machine might play chess. He described brute force search, selective search, and the idea of evaluating positions numerically. At around the same time, Alan Turing wrote the first computer chess program. With no computer powerful enough to run it, he executed the algorithm by hand, calculating each move himself. These pioneers imagined machine chess years before the hardware existed. Their ideas shaped the first great era of computer chess, the age of calculation. From the 1950s right up until 2017, engines improved through deeper search, faster hardware, and long lists of handcrafted rules. In 1997 came the moment that captured the world's attention. Deep Blue versus Garry Kasparov. IBM's machine defeated the reigning world champion in a landmark match. It wasn't just a sporting upset, it was a cultural shockwave. For the first time, a machine had beaten the strongest human in a fair fight. But Deep Blue was only the beginning. The real leap came later, with engines like Fritz, Ribka, Houdini, and Stockfish. By the mid-2010s, classical engines could outcalculate any human, but their understanding was still limited by the rules we wrote for them. These classical engines worked through brute force calculation. They evaluated millions of positions per second, searching deeper and deeper into the game tree. Their strength came from raw speed and from handcrafted evaluation functions. Human-written rules about king safety, pawn structure, piece activity, and material balance. They didn't understand chess in any human sense. They just calculated further and deeper than any human possibly could. The age of intuition began with Google's AlphaZero. For the first time, a machine learned chess the way humans do, through pattern, experience, and self-play. AlphaZero's style was fluid, strategic, and deeply creative. Leela Zero followed, bringing neural network intuition to the open source world. And when Stockfish integrated neural network systems, the two traditions merged, brute force calculation fused with learned positional understanding. Engines had now moved far beyond brute force calculations. Neural network engines work in a completely different way to classical engines. Instead of relying on human-written rules, they learn patterns directly from self-play. A neural network evaluates a position not by calculating millions of branches, but by recognizing structures, plans, and long-term potential. When combined with search, as in AlphaZero, Leela, and NNUE Stockfish, these engines blend intuition with calculation, producing moves that feel strategic, fluid, and deeply human. Engines have shown us that the classical principles we grew up with are not laws, they're shortcuts, and the data makes this impossible to ignore. When we compare engine games to Grandmaster games, the contrast is striking. Engines move the same piece twice in the opening, far more often than humans. They develop the queen early at rates which defy our understanding. They willingly enter material imbalances that Grandmasters avoid, and they activate their king in the middle game with a confidence that looks reckless to the human eye. These charts reveal a simple truth. Engines break the rules because they see deeper. A move that violates every principle may still be the most accurate, because the underlying tactics or long-term structure justify it. What we once called principles were really just approximations, useful but incomplete. Engines expose the deeper logic beneath them. Engines uncover tactical resources that humans simply don't see. They find defensive ideas buried 12 or 15 moves deep. Moves that look quiet, even passive, but completely change the evaluation. They reveal forcing lines that appear impossible at first glance, and tactical motifs that humans would never consider. Many positions we once evaluated as winning or lost turn out to be far more complex. Engines show that the tactical landscape is richer, more interconnected, and more surprising than human intuition ever imagined. They illuminate the hidden geometry of the board. Engines treat material as fluid, just one variable among many. When we compare their choices to Grandmaster practice, the difference is unmistakable. The data shows that engines voluntarily sacrifice pawns at far higher rates than humans. They give up material not for immediate attack, but for long-term squares, structural advantages, or future activity. The same pattern appears in exchange sacrifices. Engines willingly trade a rook for a minor piece if it unlocks dynamic potential or restricts the opponent's coordination. And when we look at full piece sacrifices, the contrast becomes even sharper. Engines enter these imbalances with a confidence that comes from perfect calculation and deep positional understanding. Humans used to evaluate positions by counting pieces. Engines evaluate by counting possibilities. They show that imbalance isn't chaos, it's a different kind of order. Engines have transformed our understanding of defense. Humans have always struggled once a position turns bad. Even the very best players tend to see their evaluation slide further once they fall behind. The pressure builds, inaccuracies creep in, and the position slowly collapses. But engines behave differently. The data shows that when an engine reaches a worse position, the evaluation often stabilizes. Instead of panicking, it finds cold, precise moves that hold everything together. Defense becomes active, not passive. Engines counteract at the exact moment the opponent overextends. They reveal that resilience is often hidden deep within the position, waiting to be discovered. Engines have rewritten opening theory from the ground up. Lines once dismissed as dubious are reborn. Entire openings shift from refuted to playable to best. Novelties appear on move 20, not move 8. Engines don't just extend theory, they transform it. They reveal hidden resources in forgotten lines, rehabilitate old ideas, and expose weaknesses in fashionable systems. The opening landscape is now deeper, wider, and more dynamic than ever before. Engines have turned the first 20 moves of the game into a frontier of endless discovery. Engines have reshaped our sense of beauty in chess. Their style is precise, paradoxical, and deeply concrete. They find harmony in positions that look chaotic, and simplicity in positions that look complex. Beauty emerges from accuracy, from the perfect coordination of pieces, from long-term ideas that unfold with inevitability. from quiet moves that reveal hidden logic. Engines expand the aesthetic vocabulary of chess. They show us that beauty is not just in attack, but in defense, in restraint, in subtlety, and in truth. Engines may soon approach the limits of classical chess, but the story doesn't end there. Future engines will become more efficient, more specialized, and more aligned with human needs. And a new force is emerging: large language models. It's possible that these may help us understand the game better by translating the engine's logic into concepts and reasoning that are understandable by us. They could explain long-term compensation, reveal hidden patterns, and turn raw evaluation into insight. The next era won't be defined just by stronger engines, but by machines that help us understand this beautiful game even more.